track of that, and they award what they call leadership points for those. And our district, which I'm very proud to say, was one of the top 3 in the entire state of Kansas of 286 districts that as a board collectively had received a lot of award points for attending conferences, attending workshops. So tonight we actually have some certificates to award, and so we're going to do that at this time. So the first one is to the entire board, and it has all the board members' names listed on it. So we'll let you be the keeper of that, Dr.
Sure,
Noble.
sure.
Okay. We have Mr. Carl McNorton. Now, Carl is retired, you know, and so
He's cheap.
They'll do anything for a free meal.
so Carl has asked, it's like, so can we go to these workshops that are being offered? We're like, sure, Carl. So Carl goes all the time, and he actually was the 3rd highest point getter in the entire state of Kansas of over 2,000 school board members. So congratulations, Carl. Now, they told me, because I was talking to the staff out there, that Carl shows up all the time, and so one day he shows up and they said, Carl, this is our staff meeting. This isn't a workshop. Next we have Sherry Sage. And Carl's a level 2 participant. And Sherry also is a level 2 participant. So thank you, Sherry. Congratulations. Keith is our newest member on the board, but he's jumped in and has made time to get to many things as well. Congratulations, Keith.
Brad, you coming?
Fred, yeah. Okay, Fred. Now, Fred also is level 2, just as Keith was. Now, he doesn't get to as many things as he would like to. For some reason, chairing the House Judiciary Committee keeps him kind of busy. So, congratulations, Fred. And also, we have Dr. Steve Noble. Now, Dr. Noble is a level 1 participant, but also Dr. Noble participated in what KSB calls our Leadership Academy, which is a year-long, and you have various meetings throughout different school districts in the state. And you learn about what other districts are doing, and it's just a pretty cool thing. And I think Siemens probably had more folks go through that than any other district. So, Dr. Noble, congratulations to you. All right. We have Mr. James Adams.
Brothers don't shake hands.
Now, James actually, if we remember, he went through the Leadership Academy a year ago and is a graduate of that as well. And he's a level 1 participant this year. So, congratulations, James.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Christy Applehans. Mr. Not Mr.
I didn't know this was a competition.
Not Mr.
Yeah. Now this is going to be level 3 that doesn't exist yet.
Now, Miss Christy Applehans, she's always a great participant and gets to as many things as she can. Congratulations, Christy. The last one was mine, but I don't give it to myself. But I'm honestly and sincerely very proud of our board that is very engaged and does not function just in a tunnel, but is able to get out and see what other districts are doing and learn how we can do things better. Which speaks a lot because they're all volunteers and they really give their time for the good of the district. So, all right, Dr. Noble, you are up.
And before I switch into the state of the district, I do want to just make a comment on this collective award that the board received altogether. There were 3 boards of education in the state of Kansas that received the recognition of leadership training as an entire board, and that requires 25 or more points from each member. And our board was one of the 3 in the state that really does go out and seek these opportunities to grow as board members. And so thank you, Board of Education, for your dedication to our kids and to our schools. And I know the pay is really good, and so of course we all know you're volunteering your time and energy and effort. So thank you for all you do for our kids. It's a really neat accomplishment and beneficial. The State of the District preview is in front of you, Board of Education members, and it's really just going to be here for your perusing for the next couple of weeks before the annual report is actually delivered publicly at the Educational Foundation Annual Dinner and Banquet, and that is on Wednesday, February the 20th. And so I just want to make sure that all board members, I know board members are aware of that date and have been invited to that event, and so we're looking forward to an evening with our Educational Foundation members and the annual report. So I won't go through it at this point in time in the interest of time. So it's there for your perusing. And thanks for all the work that you've done. You can see through that process that all the reports that were brought to the board have now culminated in this booklet here. So that's all I have on that, Mr. President.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is public communication. If there's anyone that would like to address the board on any items not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. As you come forward, state your name and address, please. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Okay, see you now. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to adoption of agenda. Dr. Noble, any changes in the agenda?
We have one slide. We've slid the action item for parents as teachers back into discussion for further discussion with the Board of Education. You'll see it now as 8F in your agenda.
Okay, very good. Directors, any other changes? All right, seeing none, I move for the adoption of the agenda as amended. Do I have a second?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the agenda is adopted. Next item of disposition of business by consent. I entertain a motion for adoption of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Carl, second by Sherry. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Those items then are adopted and taken care of. Next is discussion items from our teaching and learning team.
Super quick. Got a lot on the agenda. All right, news from elementary. I just want to highlight something really quick that we are conducting a literacy practicum with Washburn University. We have 14 students that will be among 3 of our elementary schools, and then just last week we also added 7 math practicum students. So the benefit of having the practicum students is they complete their literacy or math block with us, hopefully they do their student teaching with us, and then hopefully we can hire them. So this is a huge opportunity for us. The math practicum students fell through with another district, so we're super excited that we got to snag them and get them in our building. So now all 5 elementary buildings will be hosting either ELA or math practicum students from Washburn. Also just want to touch base about an MTSS survey that is went out to parents today in case you feel questions about that. It's a 15 item questionnaire, and then just the areas are welcoming environment, supporting student learning, effective communication, sharing power and advocacy, and community involvement. We use those results every year and we compare, are we doing better, what areas do we have for growth, that kind of thing. So that went out today in case you feel any questions about that. It's through our MTSS, multi-tiered system of supports process. Any questions about that?
Is there a way to combine the surveys if you have kids at 3 schools?
break it down by buildings, but that's a good, we should look into that. I know the data we get, we disseminate it by building to look for, you know, because you might feel at one building there's a welcoming environment, and in another building maybe not so much. You might rate it a little bit differently as one example, so that's why we have it. I feel your pain that I have multiple children too, but I'll look into that. If you could click on multiple buildings or something, I'll certainly look into that.
And then the only thing was if there'd be a place to add comments, I think that could be helpful.
Okay, I will give that feedback to the TASN folks who constructed the survey for us, so that's good feedback. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I would just like to highlight a few items. For secondary, we have our conferences coming up, and we have our first ever student-led conferences at our high school and at Pleasant Hill Learning Center. So I've got a little write-up with regards to those opportunities for our students. I also have several items of student achievement, kind of like the thespians, but I really want to highlight a really special one from our Civic Engagement Club. This is the first year for this club. It is led by Mr. McAllister, and they presented a bill at the Kansas House Transportation Committee, thanks in large part with partnering with Mr. Patton. And so we're just looking forward to continued growth from this club with the leadership they're displaying. And then just a reminder that we are going to have our ACT this month for all juniors and some of our seniors, as well as WorkKey. So that's around the corner as well. Lots of first times in our secondary schools.
So will this be first-time seniors?
For ACT seniors, is that what you're asking
Right.
about?
You said some seniors, will this be first-time seniors?
The first time that these seniors have taken the test. So any senior that has already taken the ACT was not to receive this opportunity. But the state wanted seniors who have not taken the test to have this opportunity. Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I thought I would highlight NCI training on my report this month. It's something I've never talked about in front of you all, so I thought it might be something new and different. But we talk about NCI quite a bit, which is nonviolent crisis intervention. We have training throughout the school year that's offered to our general education staff as well as our special education staff, classified and certified. And it's a behavior management system committed to providing care and services in a respectful, safe environment. The bulk of the training is prevention, looking for those signs of escalation in students and that sort of stuff. And then the end of the training is some physical restraints, which is about a 45-minute part of that training. But we want to emphasize prevention the most. We offer 4 initial trainings within our district throughout the school year, all-day trainings, and 6 refresher trainings throughout the school year. We have 4 certified trainers within our district that special education provides through our TIP grant. Right now, we have 60 certified staff training, 65 classified staff training. We train all the bus drivers, so we have 39 bus drivers trained as well. And they also started to offer online training this school year, which is kind of nice for that refresher course. So our paras and our educators do not have to miss class time, but they can do some stuff online to get that refresher course, because they're certified for a whole entire school year, then until the end of the next. So those paras can go to class, and we don't have to provide substitutes, as well as our teachers. And then they can have a little part of it face-to-face before school, which is required. We can't get over that because we need some face-to-face time as well. But I wanted to talk to you about that. It's for safety and staff of our students is our priority at Seaman, and we want to make sure that everyone's trained that want to be trained or that need to be trained for nonviolence crisis intervention. The second part of my report is the December 1 count, and I noticed Frank mentioned it earlier in his, when you talked earlier in the board meeting, but we did get our December 1 count, our final count, and so you can see I've been anxiously awaiting. You know, the trend has been going up each year. 5 years ago, we had 564 students in special education. Today we have 656 students. So we gained one student from last year. It's the first year in several years that we haven't gained at least 30 to 50 students, and our gifted numbers are coming up. So we're pretty pleased about that as well. Do you have any questions about any parts of my report?
Any idea of why we didn't gain the large number?
No, I do not know why we didn't gain a large number. I know that we have our overall district hasn't gained as many students this year as we have in the past. That could be part of it, but I do not know. Thanks.
Thank you.
Want to do that one?
I wouldn't know where to start with that. Thanks.
Click and hold.
I've got it.
There you go.
There we go. It was going to be real short and sweet too, you know. So the gist of it is we're tearing out a building. Here you can see there's saw cut in the perimeter, so we can save the fence line and the parking area on the east side of the building, as well as the north side fence line remaining. Here they're taking away the kitchen sink, so it's just the beginning. That's how you know when construction's happening, right? Windows are gone, doorways are gone. They took out the doors with the skid loader and they're just driving. They drove right on in there and started tearing the inside out first.
And several community members asked why we had to start with Mrs. Hunston's room.
I don't even know where that's at. And if you drive by there today, you'll notice it's progressing right along. These are a week old and they're already nowhere near what it looks like as a current. And there's the machine that gets it done. That thing really makes short work out of it. Over at Stephen High School, we were rodding a drain and cast iron as it gets older gets thinner, and we went through. So we did a little quick emergency fix for now, and we're going to hopefully get the rest of it repaired this up and coming summer. And of course, snow removal. I mean, we haven't had enough of that yet, right? Right. Anybody? I was happy to have the rain that we had. One other item on my list here is a high school career counselor area. And I'm going to need some assistance from Kenita on that one. But we're looking into potentially changing up the layout a little bit.
Is this in Chrome or?
It's in Firefox.
It's in Firefox.
I'm going to hang out back here in case of questions.
I am here to propose a redesign or remodel of our counseling center. You know, we've transitioned. Did I do something wrong?
I think Chrome just opened up, so just X that out.
Okay.
There you go.
It's really going to fight.
There we go. We've been transitioning our curriculum and instruction into environments that enhance 21st century skills. And along with that, we have transformed some spaces. This year, we have the library transformed. We no longer have the orange carpet. We've also transformed the locker bay area into common blended spaces. And we're hoping that the counseling center also joins the 21st century. What we're looking at here is the current counseling area. We've got 3 doors. The 2 at the end lead into an office for our counselors where they meet with students. The middle is kind of a reception area that also houses 2 more offices, one for a counselor and one for a social worker. What we're looking to do is to enhance the experience of our students by bringing in student privacy. There are conversations that sometimes happen in the offices that have a sharing a wall, and you're able to hear conversations across that wall. We're also hoping to integrate services. We have various programs for students such as JAG, credit recovery, the internship program, all of which we believe would be enhanced by bringing them together with the counseling services and the social work services that we offer. Also to consider the expansion of services that we're providing our students. It is through the guidance counseling area that we lead the individual plans of study, that we lead the social emotional curriculum, as well as wraparound programs that our social workers and counselors provide students, as well as the different increased curricular opportunities that we find in pathways and advanced placement, as well as dual credit opportunities. So all of these are enhanced services that we're providing. We seek to give our staff collaborative spaces by bringing all of them together. Larger offices where groups of students can meet with their counselors. I've walked by and seen up to 4 or 5 students with a counselor, and they're just kind of packed in there. They're not able to sit and have a conversation. Also, I've had the chance to be in a meeting with parents who were upset at the time, and so moving them to the administrative offices was not convenient, so I would come to the counseling office to meet with parents, and at one point our counselor had to leave the room so that the student could join. So it wasn't one that lent itself to being to providing the parents and the student the full service that they require. Also, with the proposal you'll see in a few slides here, we're trying to add a conference room. At this time, we have 2 conference rooms close to administration, and those are used plenty with IEPs, and sometimes we have a hard time being able to schedule another meeting for other groups. And we hope that this additional conference room will serve the needs not only of the collaborative team in the new Career and Life Center, but also be able to be used for IEPs as well. So what would we be gaining in the proposal you'll see here pretty soon? 4 additional office spaces, 1 conference room, privacy for our students, and collaboration for the team. How we achieve this, Jason will probably speak better of this. What you see here in red is what we currently have as the guidance area. And we hope to take the region that you see in blue, use the space that's the hallway that was in the previous picture and part of a classroom, and turn that into the diagram you see there on the right. That layout that you see at the right is a layout that our students created. We gave this idea to students for them to start ideating and use some of their skills in their classrooms just to put ideas together. So this is just a starting point to give us a perspective. Any questions?
What's going to happen to the part of the classroom not taken?
That will still be a classroom. We're only taking a piece of it, but yes.
Doesn't necessarily show the entirety of it. So like this area here is actually right in here, not necessarily represented in this. So have you been in that room? Probably been a day or 2.
That's the
But this tech
room.
Yeah.
right. So that tech closet is off in that corner. In other words, you've got this much of the room before you get into that doorway. I know it's not, this much is not a great way of depicting that, but there's this whole area over here, in other words, that's not shown on this, which is this other part.
proposed timeline, it does, probably Bob could speak better of this.
So, primary purpose for getting this in front of you tonight is we won't come back with the 4-5 until next month. And then you'll have a month to look it over and vote on it in April. If we wait until April, and so we believe this to be an important enough priority that we can't wait until April to do that. So, don't necessarily want to hear that you approve of this. I guess what I do want to hear is that you don't approve of it, which I guess is the same as saying you approve of it. So we just don't want to get our neck too far out here and someone say, I don't think this is a very good idea. So this will be, we will have the funds to pay for this in next year's 4-5 plan, I guess is what I'm telling you. So it will be a part of that plan. You'll get that in March. You'll have the opportunity to approve it in April. And this would be a pretty big piece of that plan. We'll be looking at 3 pretty significant projects then this summer. You'll remember that we did Elmont Roof Out last spring. I got a little nervous about the timeline on that one. I did not want people up on roofs at the beginning of the school year for several weeks. So Meridian won that bid and they agreed to honor that price until this summer. So we're going to hit the ground running at Elmont as soon as that last day of class is over. So that would be one project for sure we're going to do. Then with your approval, this would be a second project that we would do this summer. And then the third one would be at least a phase of the HVAC improvement at North Fairview. I'm not sure we'll have the funds to do the whole thing at once, but we can at least hit the parts that are in pretty serious need of replacement. I told you more than what you wanted to hear.
No, it's good.
Is that good?
Any questions?
But again, the main thing tonight is just, we don't want any surprises for you or for us. Just want you to know what we're thinking, and that if we're going to do this, we've really got to get the ball rolling now, because I want plans to be done pretty much by the 1st of March, bids open by the 1st of April, so you could approve those at the April board meeting, and that would give whichever company wins the bid about 5 or 6 weeks to get ready to start the project again as soon as the last day of school is over. Questions?
We don't have any numbers at this point, though.
I tentatively put $300,000 towards that. I don't think it'll be that much, but I think that's a good starting point.
Thank you.
And I will just close with where a proposal like this fits with our strategic plan. And I've identified strategic goal 3 and strategic goal 4 as that criteria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me? Either?
Questions? Over? Okay. Thanks. Okay, next item, Project Lead the Way expansion. Ms. Lusbaugh.
Okay, we are going to kind of just give you the basics of what we're proposing for expansion in Project Lead the Way at the elementary level for next year. I needed to start with a quote from Bill Nye. I had originally put Ms. Frizzle on there, but Bill Nye seems to be an iconic person to lead us into this proposal. Ms. Frizzle did not win out, if you know who Ms. Frizzle is. Magic School Bus, isn't it? Our why. Our why is we need to continue our engaging curriculum. We found this year with the implementation of Project Lead the Way that our students are highly engaged in the content. It's all hands-on. It's very collaborative. It increases communication skills. So we want to continue that path. We want to continue the STEM integration. We know about the research, about the future job market, and we want to continue expanding that opportunity at the elementary level. And then pathway development. We're seeing all the great things happening at the middle and the high school, and we've had lots of conversations this year about how elementary can feed into that, and we do feel obligated to expand our pathway coursework or opportunities so that our kids get excited about taking those classes and those electives in the middle school and high school. The launch program through Project Lead the Way fits very nicely, obviously, with the gateway stuff that's happening at the middle and the high school, so it just seems logical to continue building that capacity at the elementary level. The process. We have, actually, the process started with ongoing conversations every month with the Project Lead the Way teachers, with many of them are here tonight in case you have questions for them. They have monthly collaboration that we've been talking all the way through this process, specifically with Ms. Nussbaum, about what that implementation looks like and what that expansion could be. We've had conversations with the elementary principals, at least 3 formal meetings, and discussed what that would look like. We also talked about it at an SEA lunch, and what came from that prompted a lot of conversations about whether classroom teachers wanted to continue to teach science standards or whether they wanted specials teachers to teach it. So that fostered a survey that we sent out to all the staff. The results of this had lots of details. We're just going to highlight a couple things that we learned from the survey. How much time do we spend currently teaching science in our classrooms? It ranged anywhere from 0 to 60 minutes. About 71% of our survey constituted that amount of time. 0, I'm thinking, is not a range. I think because the broad range of 0 to 30, a lot of people probably had 20 minutes, and so they marked that time. I don't anticipate anybody, when you see 0, spending 0 time in a survey. So with that being said, there's just a lot, we're all over the place with how much we're teaching science. Also, one of the questions which I think originally when we talked about expansion last year and we talked about implementing this program, we talked about a full implementation expansion with adding an additional teacher to every elementary building. We've since then pulled back on that, and we're looking at maybe a modified expansion of the program. This was one of the questions we threw out. It was originally presented to staff that we would hire the additional teacher and then science could potentially come off classroom teachers' hands and it would be taught in a special. But what we know is that science standards, not all of them align with STEM curriculum. It's a STEM curriculum, not a science curriculum. So we aren't going to hit all of our science standards. So that's really not a fair moving forward item. So we're looking to maybe do a hybrid model based on that. Some of the things that we've talked about in this process, we're going to do a modified expansion. We're going to pull back and go slow to go fast. We're not going to wanting to present a full expansion. We want to, where's this time going to come from for increased time for STEM learning? It's going to come out of our MTSS time. So the modified version of the plan is looking like expanding at the intermediate grades and keeping our early intervention focus at the primary grades. We're also thinking that by the time they get into intermediate grades, that it's time to accelerate. We cannot continue to remediate kids at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. We want to give them opportunities to enrich them and apply the skills that they've been learning all the time before that. So we're hoping that will happen. We want to share the workload. So we do want to take some things off our classroom teachers' plates as we continue to add BSOL, SEL, social emotional, all the additional things. So we're looking to maybe pull some of those science standards off and give them to the Project Lead the Way teachers. We also feel like the expansion can give a deeper focus on the standards. Right now we're doing a lot of surface level standards across the district and a little bit varied implementation. With this, we think we can go deeper and we can focus on those science standards a lot better. We also want to increase the accountability for specials, like PE and music, take grades in their content areas. We want to place value on that content, and so the Project Lead the Way teachers will begin to give grades at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade for the learning that's happening in their STEM class. And then, like I said earlier, we want to continue our work in the K-12 alignment. We feel like that expansion leads into the middle school and high school pathways. All right. That was really fast.
Okay, so I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of the logistics for the actual proposal. I do want to draw your attention to the paper copy of this, which will go into even more detail of some of the items that I'm going to cover with you. So time, how much per week? We are proposing that we take the intermediate grades of 4 through 6 from one 50-minute session a week to 2 50-minute sessions a week. The 1-3 will stay at the same of one 50-minute session per week. And then kindergarten, if possible, we would like to go to 2 25-minute sessions per week at the buildings as schedule allows, as we found that that just works developmentally better for our kindergarten learners. And that was a recommendation from our launch team. Taking just a brief look at some of the launch modules and the opportunities that these students would be getting at those intermediate grades. Right now we're teaching 2 out of the 4 modules at 4th grade. This would give us the opportunity to teach all 4 modules. Currently we're doing energy collisions and input-output human brain. So 1 engineering and 1 biomedical module. So next year we'll be able to do 2 engineerings, 1 biomedical, and brain for the first time in a computer science module, which would be really exciting. And that's the input-output computer systems that you see up there. For 5th grade, what this would look like
is they would continue the robotics and automation that we're already doing with our 5th graders and the infections detection. We would add infection modeling and simulation, which would be another computer science module. And then when those modules were over in the year, whatever remaining time would be dedicated to teaching additional science standards. So doing some science curriculum mapping, identifying more standards that our Project Lead the Way teachers could cover and take off of the plates of the 5th grade teachers and integrate into a STEM-based curriculum or a STEM-based unit using the APD approach to teaching that they have mastered as launch teachers. And then at 6th grade, what this would look like is they would do the second robotics course, which is Robotics and Automation Challenge. So both 5th graders and 6th graders would be getting robotics, a high interest, highly engaging module, and also would be building into the robotics that we now have at middle school and high school. And then we propose bringing in a gateway course, and gateway is Project Lead the Way's 6-8 curriculum. And the course that we would like to bring in is Flight in Space. This was recommended to us by Project Lead the Way for a highly engaging curriculum for 6th graders. It's very hands-on. They get the opportunity to really dive into the aerospace information. And then again, just like with 5th grade, any additional time would be for those additional science standards. So again, getting some standards off of the 6th grade teachers' plates and trying to boost that. So looking just briefly at the standards, since we've referenced them, what you're seeing here is K3, and as we've shared, those standards wouldn't change. So you can see what we're currently covering, and next year, since we're not expanding in those grade levels, it would just remain at the current standards covered. However, at 4-6, this proposal with 4th grade would go from 7 to 9 standards, and 9 standards is more than any other grade level gets covered. And in 5th and 6th grade, you can see the current amounts, and we just have plus more because that's to be determined the number of standards that they could get into an additional STEM unit that they would cover. But we anticipate that number going up in order to get a greater percentage of standards covered during Project Lead the Way time. Okay, so what we need to launch, we are proposing for one additional teacher who would be a traveling teacher between our 3 biggest buildings of Logan, Northern Hills, and West Indianola. That teacher would cover additional modules and allow for this expansion to double 50 minutes per week. We are also going to need additional training. Our launch team members would need to go for flight in space training this summer. We also need to purchase additional materials. If we're expanding modules, we need to have more durable materials for those modules, and also we need to be purchasing additional consumable materials that go with each of these experiences. We'll need additional technology for 3 classrooms at those buildings, and that would be 12 iPads and 1 charging cabinet per classroom. And we are also looking to have furniture added to each of our Project Lead the Way classrooms. We have a variety of tables currently in our classrooms, but those were more of a temporary use to get by for this year. And we are proposing more of a science exploration table with additional storage that's needed for all the materials involved with Project Lead the Way, and also a high pressure laminate top that will be, or that will withstand the test of time and all of the learning and exploring that will be going on in these classrooms. So I'm just going to finish here with some numbers, and these correspond with what you see on that back page of your handout. What you see highlighted with the black dots, those, if you're looking at this, that's going to be the ongoing cost. So annually we would need to have an additional teacher salary. We'd be paying for, and that $38,000 is an estimate on ongoing materials. Both of the materials numbers that you see are estimates. Those are based on 3 tracks or 3 sections at each of our 5 elementary buildings. So as enrollment changes, that number could go up and down, but that's what I
And that's with 0 expansion of the modules, right?
That's with...
that's just at its current...
This would be with the expansion of the modules.
Expansion.
The ongoing with the expansion. And then outside of the black, what you see is just a one-time cost to support this initial startup with the technology, the startup materials, classroom furniture, and the staff training. And what you don't see on there is the annual participation fees that we have annually for all of our buildings to be able to participate in Project Lead the Way. So, leave you with an image of some of our students engaging in robotics this year and see if you guys have any questions.
I have a question. So since we're taking MTSS time if a child did need what we're currently doing in MTSS, I guess I'd like to be assured that they're not missing out on Project Lead the Way, so I just wondered how that would be accommodated.
Which we would give MTSS, you get 5 days of MTSS, so this additional 50 minutes would be just 1 day of that additional, it'd be 30 minutes of regular intervention time plus another 25 minutes of core time. But we think we can integrate a lot of the content in that and meet their needs. So they would still have 3 days that they could still get intervention. And anybody who's...
You wouldn't anticipate them missing out on Project Lead the Way?
No. We want to enrich. In fact, research really talks about kids at that age, putting them in opportunities to accelerate them. They move faster than when we keep them dumbing down in intervention groups. So I feel strongly this is going to boost a lot of our scores and help our kids grow faster. But they'll still have days of intervention. And we're also giving back a little bit of core time, but we could be giving back a little bit of core time too. Does that make sense? Any other questions for the teachers that came tonight? I know they're really excited. This is what they do every day.
Can you explain why there's no one-time training fee for 4 to 5 months?
Oh, because they've already been. This past year, they went to their 2-day training for launch, and so they don't need to repeat that. It is set them up to be able to teach those modules. We would need to send the one new teacher to 2 days of core training this summer. So that's why it is not needed to be repeated.
Once you go to the launch training, you can teach all of the elementary modules. And same way for Gateway.
Where will they go for that training?
It's now based in Kansas City,
Wow.
so nearby.
Really feel like this is a compromise from the original proposed plan to still meeting our needs for an expansion. So I did a hybrid model. Took a lot of people's input into account.
And the price associated with the furniture is to equip all the Project Lead?
Yes, all of our current 5 classrooms and the 3 additional that we're proposing at the larger building.
Right now they have some plastic tables and a variety of different furniture because we really wanted to we didn't want to purchase a lot of furniture last year. We wanted to see what the modules needed this year and make really good, sound, informed decisions before we decided what furniture we really wanted.
Yeah,
so they lived and may do this year, but we've identified what we really do need to make that.
And the team was part of that process and picking out the table and what their needs were.
I will say when we picked flight and space also, we did align it to the Kansas job market, so hopefully we can get kids excited about the job markets that are in Kansas and keep them here in our state. So we really did take a lot of that into consideration when we decided what modules.
This comes back next month, is that the idea?
For discussion.
Yep.
I mean, for action.
This isn't as good a question as you've probably heard, because I'm still trying to think through it, but does this have any, I mean, this is all so positive, and I'm a big PLW fan, but is there any negative to the classroom teacher as far as less time with the student, or
Not
they gotta
yet.
do more with less time?
We've been going out and doing a tour of the buildings and kind of going over this with teachers. We'll finish that up on Monday, the professional learning day on this coming Monday. So we'll visit all the schools and solicit feedback because we're thinking in this discussion month we can still gather some feedback and be able to make adjustments if we need to. Haven't heard anything yet.
I mean, I'm saying, yeah, but that's the kind of thing you hear is like,
Yeah.
backhanded comment. Like, this is a great program, now I just have less time. Well,
Not yet, we haven't heard that. Because what will happen is, we don't have time now for them to collaborate with the Project Lead the Way teachers, so what we're
Right.
hoping is the intermediate
Yes,
teachers
right.
are gonna go in and co-teach in that classroom and also learn some of those skills, so we can expand that even into our classroom, some of the principles that we're seeing on Project Lead the Way.
Yeah, I've mostly heard excitement from the few that I've heard talking so far about getting into CF.
great.
And it's a lot slower than what was originally proposed.
Yeah.
So are there other districts that are presently doing what we're doing
Not
at
in
the
this
level?
area.
Not in this area.
No. We're gonna
The
go all the way.
most prevalent example will be Goddard down around the Wichita area. Excuse me, they are a K-12 Project Lead the Way. All of their kids get launched. Fact is, they were in the rotunda today with their Project Lead the Way launch. Maybe Representative Pat saw them there. They're probably, them in Hillsborough, I would like to say, are probably the two that have the launch throughout. Excuse me, I'm still trying to clear my throat.
So the activity fees go up then for?
No, the participation fees stay the same annually for all of our programs.
Is there anything that our teachers would like to share with us?
It's been a lot of fun to teach. It has. The kids love it. I'm learning a lot.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah.
Do the materials hold up pretty well, you found over the course of the year? Or do you have to replace a lot of that stuff?
Well, if it's a consumable, yes. But
Yeah, sure.
the other things I think have held up very well for now.
I know you all got pallets and pallets of stuff.
Yes.
And I don't know if you still had pallets and pallets of stuff.
A
Or,
lot of it is
Yes.
consumables.
yeah,
A lot of it.
they're burning through it.
They've been out several times, there's rarely payoff pass. We've seen some preliminary data of discipline referrals going down during that particular specials time as compared to when we were hosting Spanish. So we've just seen a lot of qualitative, good parents and kids saying positive things about it.
And it really is this group of teachers behind us.
Yeah.
So they get all the credit.
Another question for the teachers. Is there anything that really surprised you since you've been doing this for a semester now? Anything that was like, wow?
I think I'm surprised most by how quickly they started working together. Like, that has not been a problem. First they end, how they're okay to fail and keep trying. Now when at first there was quite a few tears. I don't know for you guys, but especially the younger ones, they did not like that they could fail, but it wasn't going to succeed. So a lot of growth that way. And learning the curriculum as well, but those are the things that I'm like, wow, this is so good for our kids.
Very good. Any other questions?
Lots of girls doing STEM projects.
Just saying.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Okay, next item is our discussion on Francis teacher proposal.
Yes, we have time. Oh, she turned it off. We decided we would give you some additional time to discuss our Parents as Teachers proposal. And so with that, we have another option that we'd like to bring to you all. And with that, I brought Shanna McKenzie. She's got some great background knowledge in Parents as Teachers within her other district in years past. So I will give it over to Shanna and let you discuss what you know.
Hello, hi, President Board, board members, thank you. I know that Deidre presented last month to you all on the proposal to apply for a Parents as Teachers entity within Siemens Schools. And so I will just briefly go over some of the slides that she showed. There's really no changes to this, maybe a few modifications. We have increased the number of families up to 51 currently being served, and of course that number changes and fluctuates and whatnot as we have families enrolled to the program. I'm sure Deidre went through the impact of Parents as Teachers and how important it really is to start our learners off at their youngest age. So the new slides, if you will, are down here at the service delivery model. Based on feedback from Dr. Noble after the last board meeting, it was indicated that we were potentially, wondering at the cost of doing different options for models. So we put together two kind of variety options here, and that's just two things that could be done. One is option A, the other is option B. The grant has been written for both, so either one, are fine, or again, a modification to them. Option A kind of summarizes basically a parents, teachers, prenatal to 3-year-old focus. This does not mean that we wouldn't write in to be able to serve 4- and 5-year-olds that are existing in the program, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, but that our emphasis would be on that 0 to 3, especially for new children coming into the program. It would pay for approximately 70 hours of parent-educator time per week, serving 70 families. You can see that there are two different price amounts on that. The first one is the initial year. Obviously, you all know about startup costs, and so initial year costs a little bit more. And in subsequent years, that number drops down by about $30,000. Our district match is 50 cents to the dollar, and that is standard. Any pre-K grant that is submitted through the state of Kansas, that is what they require. Then option B is kind of the Cadillac version, and it serves prenatal through 5. And again, I'll talk about the difference with that here in a moment. 105 total parent hours. So actually, educators, bumping that up a whole nother educator. And then the prices that are on there, again, match. The asterisk numbers are, if you consider the $32,600 amount that we already are contracting with Keystone. So any questions on that before I move on?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So, we currently are serving families 0 to 5, and
Yeah.
we have 50 families. And so I was just curious how we would get to 105 families.
Yeah, so I will move down here just a little bit. Right now, I did take our waiting list and our roster that we have currently serving at Mathis Early Learning Center and totaled up the number of children under the age of 5 that we are not serving at the center. Now, some of those families are currently being served by our parent educators who are here tonight, all 3 of them, and not all of them. There are 110 siblings right now under the age of 5, and only a small portion of those are ones that we're actually serving currently in the PAT program. So we know the kids are out there. Now, does that mean that they will all want to participate in the program, all sign up for the program? No, not necessarily. And that's something we really have to look at as we get going into it. What will those steady numbers look like? We know that it's 51 right now. We know there's 110, potentially more out there. The longer that we have a program where we're serving a birth to 5 model in general with the preschool added in there, the longer it becomes a systemic service and families will know that it's available. And so we do need to anticipate that at some point those numbers continue to rise. But we have, other than knowing what the numbers look like for potential, we have no other way of knowing how many.
But there's not a waiting list now preventing them from
There's not.
participating.
No, we have contracted for 64 slots right now, and they're not full. Yeah. So here are some other considerations with this. So if the model were to change to a heavier focus on the 0 to 3, it impacts some families that are currently utilizing the service for their children up to age 5. The service up to age 5, specifically with Mathis Early Learning Center, having that cushion there till 5 helps because we are a half-day program and we don't have full-day services. And so this gives us a component into the home setting when children are otherwise not in school. The other piece of it is a lot of our students are students with disabilities and special needs, and sometimes that support in that home setting can really make a big difference for their overall educational impact. Another consideration is right now we have 3 educators, but only one of them is full-time with a full-time Seaman load. The other 2 have part-time Seaman, part-time other school districts. So right now we're not at like a 2 full-time parent educator capacity or 3. It's 1 plus 2 more part-time. Does that make sense? Okay. And then also another piece to kind of keep in mind is many preschool programs have a home visitation component. Currently, Mathis does not have that. So parents as teachers, as of writing for this, would comprise of that home visitation and be written into the pre-K components of those grants as well. This was presented to our site council, and their remarks are in your packets. They really appreciate the parents as teachers program. Many of our site council members participate in it, and I've never met anyone who says they don't like parents as teachers. They love it. It's a great program for our kids. Questions for me?
Well, I'm just trying to do the math. So right now we're paying $32,000 something.
Mm-hmm.
And option B, we'd be paying $260,000. Is that correct? To just serve it?
The first year would be $203,450. Now that is with the grant in there, and so district match would be $101,000 minus the.
Oh, so stop there. So
okay.
Do we pay the $203,450 plus the district match?
No, just the district
The
match.
total. Well, but somebody's paying that. I mean, so $203,000. That's the cost. Not. I don't add those 2 together.
Right. Yes, you do.
So it's $260,000.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 times the amount of money, not quite. 8 times the, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. And if you have the applications, it has the detailed breakdown in there. So option A comes to 230, 175, 203 of that is grant funding, and then the other 101,000 would be district funding. And then option B is a total of 305, with 203 being state funding. Right?
Are those totals, Ms. McKenzie, are those in that other attachment for the board to see?
Yes, there's option A attachment, and it's found on
That
page
has the actual
12.
dollars in it for the
Mhm.
entire grant, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and page 12 of option B as well. So it's roughly a $50,000 difference is what it breaks down to total between option A and option B.
Total for the district or total expense?
Total expense. The
Can you
district
tell me where I
portion
find
is
that again? I'm
about
sorry.
25,000.
I find that on.
Page 12 of attachments A and B.
On this one.
So, if I can ask a clarifying question, on page 12 of option A of the grant, or the actual grant application under totals,
Yes.
I see state grant amount requested is 203,450. The total amount is local match plus the grant amount
Exactly.
of 230.
305 on option A or option B?
Option A
Option A, yes, 230.
of the total amount. So the way I'm reading that, help me understand this, the 203,450 is the amount we're applying for from the grant from the
Yes.
state for PAT programming. And then the district's contribution will be in the neighborhood of $27,000.
Yes.
That's
No,
different.
no. So option A, the grant requested amount for initial would be the 153,450. And then half of that, approximately half of that would be the district contribution. We pay 50 cents to the dollar.
The state pays for half, the district pays for half. The 27,000 was the difference between what we're already paying and what additional money we would pay.
Okay, that's where I'm confused. You keep saying the district pays for half and the state pays for half, but isn't the state paying for 2/3 and the district paying for 1/3?
Yeah, 50 cents to the dollar.
50 cents to the dollar.
Right, so
Right,
it's not half and half, it's,
No.
right.
No.
right?
It's
You're
a third.
correct.
You're right.
Right, it's
Okay.
2/3 and
Yes.
2/3.
Okay.
Yes. And so then once that 2/3 portion, if we're requesting less, then our match is less.
Right.
I have
Kristen?
some questions. I have to start out by saying I'm not unbiased when it comes to parents as teachers. Jen Schiff, who's sitting in the audience here, she started as my parent educator when I became pregnant 14 years ago. She's been with me with all 3 of my kids. She left her daughter May, who's here tonight, to come help me have the skills to be a better parent. She still has a lot of work to do. I've also spent a lot of time lobbying for parents as teachers in my time. What I'm really struggling with is we have one of the premier programs in the state. We have educators who have over 30 years of experience, I think, and we all know that for parent education programs, the relationship with the educator is one of the key components of success. So I'm just struggling to see what we get for the additional investment, because under the current program, if we had 105 families to serve, we could contract with additional families through Keystone. So I don't quite understand what we get with the additional investment.
Yeah, so I can talk to that for sure. I really firmly believe that a shared vision of our school district is very important. And when you have two entities kind of oversight, that shared vision gets interrupted. And that's really kind of what that's about, is making sure that our focus is the same. And as you know, you write for these things and you identify strategic goal areas, it's really important that those align with our district strategic goals, our district mission and vision. And when we contract with another agency, that can't be guaranteed. We adopt then their vision and their mission for that part of the program. So that's where it comes from. That's the why. And we have the capacity to be able to operate our own independent program at Mathis.
So the vision of the Parents as Teachers program, do you feel like they don't share your vision now?
I feel like they do. I feel like it's very much it's a partnership, I would say. It's not one entity operating exactly the same and with the same intent and all the same information. I think that it would benefit us in the ability to be able to reach kids strategically and to maximize on what we already have happening.
So I know in other districts where they've taken the program in-house, they've actually lost their PAT accreditation. And kind of the value of the PAT model is that it's evidence-based. We know it works. We know that that vision is effective.
Right.
So I guess I feel like there's a lot of risk in looking at this change as well.
So affiliation is something that I talked to the state about quite a bit, and they were very good with us going ahead and writing for the grant and then applying for our affiliation afterwards, the affiliate plan. They have offered to help with the affiliate plan, which is honestly everything that's already kind of outlined within the grant application itself. We would then have a year to work through that affiliation and become affiliated, and then we would move to the Blue Ribbon affiliate, which is your highest level. And there is no reason why Siemens Schools is not equipped to meet all 75 of the 100 needed quality standards for Blue Ribbon affiliate.
And then I think I just have one. Do you feel like you have the extra time it would take to coordinate this program?
Coming from a large district, yes. I feel like it's...
So there's extra time in your day to really commit to overseeing an evidence-based?
I think it would, for me personally in my work, it would make things a little more streamlined because I would be able to communicate directly with my parent educators and know that we're all on the same page and moving forward without having a middleman, so to speak, of Keystone.
And do you feel like there's resistance to that now under the current model?
I don't. I just think it's one more kind of hoop or barrier, so to speak.
Jenna, coming from the 501 school district, was your PAT, I don't know the background with that school district. Did they contract or were those employed?
We did not. We had our own entity. And it's a Blue Ribbon affiliate, 3 different locations. We had our main site, and then I had 2 satellite sites as well, Pine Ridge and then Avondale East, and all 3 award-winning programs.
Any more questions?
Why now?
So, because
I feel like it's a brand new school there, and I mean, without showing my cards, I guess, I'm just curious, why not next year, or is it?
we've had a lot of families that come in and ask and seem to have a little bit of confusion why PAT isn't just part of Siemens Schools already. And so, we do say, oh, we contract and you'll get services and we communicate well. Jen is on our leadership team. And so we definitely make the most, I would say, of having a contracted situation. Definitely make the most of that. However, it makes more sense for families when you can say, this is our program and this is the direction that we're going. These are our strategic plan goals. This is how we're going to get there, and this is a component of that. And having a true service that's prenatal to 5 really does make sense in a district where we're removing limits for learning. And honestly, by contracting, that's one limit.
And then your recommendation would be for the option B, for the 5 then, not the 3 necessarily. If you had to pick, money wasn't an issue.
if money wasn't an issue and I got to pick, just being very transparent, putting it all out there, I feel that our numbers at 51, knowing that we have the potential to grow, but that they are at 51 right now, speak volumes. I think that we can serve the 0 to 5, and I really highly recommend that we serve that with that emphasis on 0 to 3 for new families, but that we don't eliminate our options with the 4 and 5-year-olds, because it is really important for continuity of services. And, you know, like Ms. Applehans was saying, that relationship is vital. And keeping that until that child goes to kindergarten and through that transition is really, really helpful. So while I stand here and would love to say we would love to have 3 full-time educators and be able to serve every family that wants it in Seaman schools, we don't know what that looks like quite yet.
So, I have a question. I guess I'm trying to envision what this looks like. You have a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old that's in school half day. They're with a teacher they know. Do they see that teacher in the home then?
No.
Are they the visitor, or they go to somebody else comes by?
Different
Okay.
worker.
So those are the additional staff guys. Sorry, go ahead.
I just have one more comment. I find it really beneficial, actually, the separation. I feel like if parents as teachers were just 100% affiliated, so as a parent who has someone who goes to milk and someone who's participating in the program, I feel really open and available to talk to Jen about some of the challenges I have at the Early Learning Center. I think on Saturday, for example, we were talking about, like, I don't have as much communication as I do at the other center, and I think that separation is just a different perspective that really allows it to be something that encompasses the whole well-being of my child. So we talk about things like TARP, we talk about things like Calvary Lutheran, the other center that she attends, and so I don't know how that fits into, and I feel like they've really talked about how they're participating in meetings, and the parents as teacher model really fits into the vision of Mathis. So it's hard for me to envision kind of things there, but as a parent, I really only see advantages to what's happening now.
And that's great. We would never want anybody to not see the advantages of what's happening now, because good things are happening, and that's what we want to continue to happen and build on. And having more communication. I'm sorry. Having more communication. Sometimes when you have a contract agency and confidentiality plays in, or comfort level, there's more team building among staff, and I think having more transparency is helpful. It's helpful for those parent educators to be able to come back to the staff and say, okay, here's areas we need to improve on together as a team. And I think that kind of can get interrupted sometimes when they're not under the same umbrella.
Just as a parent, I kind of appreciate that I can express things with a parent educator and kind of work in that way. It's just an advantage as a parent, but I don't know what it's like as an administrator.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully, we can get more families to have that bridge. That's what we really want.
And James, I might just make sure that it's clear that we're currently serving 0 to 5 now.
Right,
And
right,
current.
absolutely. No, totally.
And I think that's my concern too, is if we were to go from serving 0 to 5 and then change the program to 0 to 3, I think to our families that looks like a loss of service.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. And I didn't really understand what Parents as Teachers program was until last week when we were at Mathis. And then, because it's like, I thought Parents as Teachers was parents come into the school and help teach. Because it was never explained to me. And I'm still not sure that I'm clear on what it does. I'm getting a better picture of it, but the other thing too is, does it serve anybody outside of Mathis?
Yes. Right now, with our contract with Keystone, the workers at our site serve families for Mathis, contracted number of families for Mathis, and then they have additional families through other school districts and other areas that they also serve. As far as what their services look like, Parents as Teachers teachers is really designed as a program that goes into the home setting and works with that family, connects with that family, assesses for child screenings, health screenings, developmental screenings. They go through the developmental milestones with families. They provide community resources. So they really are a home liaison that's a vital, vital component to child success in the school. Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. My daughter and my grandkids, I'm not sure that they know that this is out there.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's a little confusing when we're talking about the parents, educators serving families outside of the district. For what we're paying them for, they're fulfilling all of their contractual obligations, and we have room to grow. But kind of what they do outside the contract, I don't think is really the concern of the board, because they're fulfilling what they do. So if we ask them to serve 100 families, they would likely not be serving families elsewhere, but we're not paying for that. So I think it's a little confusing the way it's been presented tonight.
But I would just tag on to that and clarify the way I understand it. If this gets adopted, if this gets approved, 0, 3, or 5, or whichever plan, families outside of the district will not be helped by our parents and teacher program. Is that correct?
They would receive their normal service. That has nothing to do with our contract.
We're not helping families outside the district.
Right.
But I think it's been a little confusing.
We're just getting what we've contracted for. Other districts have contracted through Keystone, and so they give us the parent educators that we need for our district. And some of them just work in 2 districts. That's what we're talking about when they serve other districts.
What's the time sensitivity of the grant?
It is due to be submitted by KSDE or to KSDE by March 11th.
And do we have to approve this before they make the application?
Yes.
Okay.
Normally, we would have a lot more time. This is the earliest I've seen in 17 years of this grant application be released. This was released, state preview was released, our PPP was released, so we've got a number of applications that we're working on.
As we work through some of these questions and concerns, what are the negative repercussions if we were to continue contracting with Keystone for a year while we work through that with the idea that this decision could be made to affect next year?
I don't think anyone ever wants any negative repercussions, so I hope none. I hope that there would not be any repercussions negatively. The reason to do it now versus next year is because KSDE is very interested in awarding senior schools a grant for this process. That's part of it, and because of that continuity and that shared vision, and it takes the resources that we're already using and makes the most of them.
Any other questions? Shannon, anything else?
I don't think so. Thanks.
All right, thank you. It's very informative. Okay, action item, Mr. Horton.
We have one bid this evening. It's for internet services. Mr. Mathis took our specs out to 5 internet service providers. You can see what those specs are. I'll read them to you. 3 of them could not meet all the specs, and some of them not all of them. 2 providers were able to meet all 5. That would be AT&T and EM3 Networks. AT&T at $10,189 per month, and EM3 at $8,556 per month. We recommend approval of EM3 for a 3-year period.
Perhaps Mr. Mathis could tell us the differences with what we receive now in terms
Sure.
of
That would make Mr. Horton very happy. Mr. Henderson.
We'd be moving from, currently all of our buildings are 100 meg connectivity back to MLC, which is where our internet is housed. They all go back at 100 meg, and then they get a gig out to the internet. The only 2 exceptions to that are the high school and middle school, which both have 500 meg to get back, so they get the larger piece of the pie. Moving forward, this would give us a 10 gig internet connection, so 10 times speed increase to the internet for the entire district to share. Every building would go up from the 100 meg to a 500 meg connection, and then the 2 high school and middle school buildings would go from 500 meg to a gig. So they'd see twice the speeds that we had previously, and the other buildings would be about 5 times faster. Should be pretty significant. And then we have DDoS protection rolled into.
Is that similar to the AT&T stuff you're getting now, or is that,
This,
how many hours you get now?
this is, we're actually paying for 70 hours right now.
Okay. Extra on top of what we already do, or is that part of the
Our
contract?
current contract with AT&T
It has
is
that.
70 hours, and we've never even come close to hitting 35. So we're gonna drop that off. We can go above, so yeah, we're gonna drop down to 35 hours, and then we can expand that at $100 an hour if we need to. So,
You go and you come back, so.
right, so not a big deal there. Biggest savings that we're gonna get with this now, you can see what our old AT&T was, we're paying $14,500 or so a month for everything now. The big reason for that is that we got pushed into our DDoS protection kind of reactively, and we couldn't E-rate that at all. There's no means by the government to E-rate that service. So now, we're having them roll that into our internet services bid from the get-go, so that's gonna drop our internet bill by about $7 grand a year. Which should be pretty significant. EN3 actually brokers all AT&T lines, which is really nice, so we don't have a whole lot of work to do on our end. All the fiber's already there, all the connections are already there, we just put our modules in, plug it in, and go. So, really excited to work with these guys, I think we'll do really well.
Very good.
I'm embarrassed to ask this question, but does it affect the speed on buses?
No, we won't.
Okay.
That's all
I
cell
want a
tower.
complete understanding of
No,
how this works.
That's all cell tower, so we don't provide
Okay.
any internet directly to buses. So no effect there.
Good question.
No, it's not, my kids are probably.
Jeff, this is actually kind of a dumb question. What's that do to the tower on the hill that I know we use with AT&T? Still remain as infrastructure? Kind of tower up on the.
On the soldier up there?
Yep.
That's strictly a cell phone tower.
Okay.
So that's just
Okay.
cell
I thought we
service.
had dedicated some kind of. Okay. Fair
It's
enough.
just an LTE tower.
All right.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the internet data.
Second by Carl or Keith? Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion's approved. Approval of the internet connection. See, now I'd take that kind of deal anytime. Pay a lot less and improve our speed. I mean, just, okay, policy updates, Dr. Noble.
Won't bore you with going through all these again. We went through these last month and highlighted some of the changes in there. That today they are up for your approval.
So, they moved by Fred,
Second.
second by James. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Sorry, I was on the
Yeah,
I
just
side,
a little
just a
bit,
little
just a
late.
little
There's a delay there.
Hearing none. I wanted to get it in real quickly. Motion carries. The policy updates are approved. Next is select negotiations team.
Not it.
I nominate Carl
I would like to serve on it again as well.
and Frank.
We can serve, we can have three serve.
We can.
We can.
It sounds to me like James trying to.
I nominate, I move
Cease
Carl
nominations.
and Frank to the nomination, or the negotiation.
Second.
Okay.
I'll be one of the classes, you guys.
Anything else?
Is there a free meal? I'm assuming there is. I'm gonna be level 4. If there is, is there such a
Carl
thing?
can get like level 6. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion
Yes.
carried. Negotiations. Okay. Executive session. I move we go into executive session to discuss individual employees' performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8 o'clock. Second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carried. We go into executive session.
Okay, we are back in open session. And we have one item remaining on the agenda. That's consideration of the superintendent's contract.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the superintendent's contract as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved by Fred, second by Carl. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, superintendent contract is approved. And that concludes our meeting tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting's adjourned.
Thanks to Bob.